Welcome to the ASPPH Data Center Portal Training webinar. My name is Christine Plebies, and I'm the Director of Data Analytics. I'm joined today by my colleague, Emily Burke, Manager of Data Analytics. Today's webinar will introduce you to the new ASPPH Data Center Portal, showing you how to use the system and, more importantly, how to use the data. We'll be taking questions at the end of the presentation, and we'll provide instructions then on how to submit questions via the GoToWebinar question window. Technology is amazing when it works. However, if at any time you are disconnected from the webinar, please attempt to log back on. ASPPH staff will troubleshoot any problems, and if reconnection is not possible after 5 minutes, we will send an email with information regarding next steps. As many of you already know, the ASPPH Data Center Portal is a place to submit ASPPH annual data and also to analyze data using peer comparison dashboards. With the relaunch of the ASPPH Data Center Portal, we've taken into account feedback from our members and created a one-stop shop for academic public health data. Under one umbrella website, you will have access to multiple data sets. Currently, ASPPH annual data and SOPHIS data are available on the portal. In the very near future, you will also have access to Certified in Public Health, or CPH data, the National Center for Education Statistics data, and data from special projects conducted by ASPPH. There is also expanded system functionality on the new Data Center Portal. That means in addition to dashboards, you can now build and export custom reports to Excel. We appreciate all of our members who continue to provide us feedback on improving ASPPH data resources. Now let's talk about why you're here with us today. Emily and I like to think that you're here because you already are, or you want to be, a data rock star.
Christine, what's a data rock star?
Data rock star is someone who uses ASPPH data center resources to drive decision-making at their institution.
So something like using the salary dashboard to make a competitive offer to a new hire?
Exactly. Or doing an environmental scan to see if your school or program should offer a new degree. Researching tuition and fees revenue is also an important function of our member, how our members use the data. There really is a lot you can do with the data.
That being the case, I think the case studies we'll be presenting today will definitely be pointing our more than 800 users in the data rockstar direction.
That's right. And with that, let's talk about our users. Currently, the users on the new ASPPH Data Center Portal include our school deans and the program primary representatives from our ASPPH member institutions. It also includes data administrators that have been designated by those deans and primary reps, and also our data users. The new Data Center Portal brings in SOPHIS administrators, and in the future will include Certified in Public Health administrators. All that to say that our users are plentiful and come from all walks of academic public health life. Why don't we go over to the site to show some user management?
You got it. All right, so here we're looking at the ASPPH Data Center Portal login screen. The URL hasn't changed. If you've never logged in before, the URL is data.asppph.org. You'll notice the orange data collection button under the box where you enter your credentials. That button takes you over to the data collection module where ASPPH members submit their annual data and warehouse previous cycle data. I'll also point out that anyone from your institution can request an account. If you're a data administrator, you'll receive an email notification prompting you to deny or approve that request. Bear with me just a moment while I log in. Alrighty, so what you're seeing now is something that only data administrators, will have access to. That is not quite true. What you're seeing now is what all users will have access to. I need to take us over to our user management. Seeing is what data administrators will have access to. This is where users are managed. Data administrators should also see a Manage Users tab that's on the blue ribbon on the top of the screen. Right now you're seeing ASPPH admin because I'm logged in as myself, and obviously I'm an admin from ASPPH.
So Emily, can you explain what does a data administrator do when they can see this site?
Sure. So the data administrators, indicated here by this purple dot, are the data center's main contact regarding annual data collection and all matters data related. The data administrator adds new users to this system by clicking on Add User. Christine, are you now seeing the Add User screen?
I am.
Great. So in order to add new users, you'll need to provide contact information, designate that user's role as users, and then set the permissions.
So I see where you can set the permissions for the different parts of the data analytics module, but what's that about the data collection module at the bottom?
Ah, yes, that's new this year. Data administrators will need to check yes to grant a user access to the data collection module. By granting a user access to the data collection module, that means that the user can view, edit, and submit data during annual data collection. The access rights on the data collection module are tied to access rights here in the user management system.
So in other words, if you grant a user access to salary data, for example, on the analytics module, and select yes to the collection module, that user will have access to your institution's salary data for every year that is warehoused on the collection side. And with that, I should add that it's no different from the My Salary Trends report on the analytics module. It's just that a user can edit the data on the collection module.
Exactly. So what we're looking at now is the user management page for CUNY School of Public Health. You can see by looking here at the bottom that they have 34 accounts set up here, most of which are data users with access to analytics only. When I saw that all of these users had been added, I reached out to the data administrators over at CUNY to ask how they were using the system. As it turns out, the data administrators were really looking to empower their administration and faculty to pull the data that they need. In other words, CUNY uses a lot of data to drive operations, strategic planning, curriculum development, and so on and so forth. Robin, the data administrator over there, was fielding multiple requests for data and felt that by granting portal access to her administration, department chairs, and faculty, she could empower her colleagues to gather, analyze, and use the data to make decisions without Robin herself ever having to fulfill a data request. Specifically, Robin's hope is that when department chairs are planning to make curricular changes, they can log into the system, conduct a quick market analysis, and use that analysis to drive curriculum decisions.
And that is exactly how we envision members using the system. That's really great to hear. ASPPH encourages our members to extend access to faculty and staff, and potentially even students if they're conducting research. The data administrator can provide temporary access, and the system makes it very easy to assign access rights, as you can see by the green little locks or the grayed locked out parts on the screen currently. I should mention here that we don't expect you to train all your users to use the system. We can do that also through virtual or in-person member consultations. Our workshop at the ASPPH annual meeting, our webinars such as this, and also from each other. Please don't hesitate to contact the data center to learn more about these training opportunities. Now, as I just mentioned, you can limit access by data section. I'd like to head over to some of those sections to show account holders what's available. But before we do that, can we show them the support tab?
Sure. And before we do that even, I just want to point out that by hovering on the icons on the top of each column, you can see which data type that corresponds with. All right, so here we are on the support tab, and we've provided a number of resources, including information about the ASPPH annual data collection and the instructions and data definitions manual. You can access the manual by clicking here. And then you can also access the 2017 Graduate Outcome Dashboard and Results webinar. We've provided information on SOFAs and the SOFA's data definitions manual. And you can see here that we have information on Certified in Public Health and National Center for Education Statistics information resources. Once the CPH data is available to you in dashboards and reports, we will provide data definitions manual here as well. Under resources, you will find the Data Center Quarterly Newsletter Archive. If you have a Data Center portal account, you should receive each quarterly mailing. And below that, you have the 2016 annual data reports and SOFA's annual report. And I should note that not all account holders will have access to the annual reports. As with the collection module, your analytics access rights are also tied to your annual report access. And now I will show you what we have under General Data Center information, contact information, and also how to access our public site, and finally, our FAQs. So now that we've reviewed user management and our support tab, I'm going to take us over to the member homepage. To guide you all through the system, I'm going to log in as Louisville. Thank you, University of Louisville. So bear with me for just a moment. All right, and we're back. Right now, we're looking at Louisville's homepage. You can see here that the resources that we currently have available to you all are My Analytics, Admissions, Student, Graduate, Graduate Outcomes, Faculty and Staff, Salary, Financial, and a few of these will not be available to you just yet, including Special Projects and CEPH. Those are coming in the very near future.
Emily, that's a lot of different data resources up there, and most of them are pretty self-explanatory, but what is planned for Special Projects and CEPH?
Sure, I'm glad you asked. If you hover on the card, you can see here, you can see some more information. So here we have the Academic Public Health Taxonomy Dashboard. And in the future, it will likely include dashboards with results from surveys sanctioned by the ASPPH Data Advisory Committee. And under CEF, or CEPH, you'll soon find tables to be included in your self-study, so stay tuned.
Oh, that's great. That's great to see what's behind those. But let's show our users what is actually behind these cards. What are the resources available to them?
Great. I am going to start with Graduate. A few years ago, our colleagues at University of Louisville launched an undergraduate program. And we're sure that there was a significant amount of research and strategizing that went into launching this program. And I want to show all of you how you can use the data center portal to gather the information that you would need to make decisions such as this one, or to provide information to decision makers. My first step in doing this was identifying ASPPH members in close proximity to the University of Louisville. I did this by referencing the ASPPH membership map, which is on the ASPPH public website. It turns out the closest members are University of Kentucky, University of Cincinnati, Indiana University Bloomington, Indiana Fairbanks, Wright State, Ohio State, Vanderbilt, and East Tennessee. So I'm going to take a look at the 2016 graduate report for these 8 members before I build out my peer comparison. And here's how we get there. First, we clicked on Graduate. Now we're going to click on ASPPH because this is the data source we want to use for our analysis.
Great. As mentioned in the intro, we now offer reports in addition to dashboards for peer benchmarking. The report section will allow you to export the data to an Excel spreadsheet, whereas the dashboards are really intended for easy peer comparison. Dashboards make use of data visualizations to create these comparisons, and as such, can only be exported to PDF.
Yes, and I am really excited about this new functionality. I know our members have been asking for it for a long time. Anyhow, now that I'm here, I'm going to use the 2016 report to take a quick look at the institutions that are regionally close to Louisville.
Great, and we definitely
so what you're looking at right now
undergraduate degrees.
Right, yep, and we're interested in undergrad degrees. So what you're looking at right now is the 2016 graduate data by ASPPH members down the rows and gender across the top, across the columns. But I want to look at this by ASPPH members and undergrad degrees. So my first step will be to change these columns to degree. And I'm going to scroll across to show you what that looks like.
So can you tell how many bachelor's degrees did our members have in 2016?
Well, first I'll need to use the degree level filter to the right of the table to filter out degree columns to only include those bachelor's degrees. And I just so happen to know that the number is an even 7,000. But I'm really only interested in looking at the 8 members we listed earlier. So I'm going to use the member name filter in the bottom of the screen to filter. First, I will select Kentucky. And next I will, I see University of Tennessee is not here, which is likely because this filter is only showing relevant values, which must mean that Cincinnati did not confer any undergraduate degrees in 2016. I will do IU Bloomington, we said. Huey, we said. We also said East Tennessee and Ohio State. Now, we also said Wright State and Vanderbilt, but I'm not seeing them here, which must mean that either they're newer members and haven't reported yet, which I think is likely of Wright State, or that they don't offer an undergraduate degree, which I think is the case with Vanderbilt. So what that leaves us with is 5 members in the Louisville region that offer an undergraduate public health degree.
I'm noticing that the other bachelor degree has 763 graduates conferred. Can we try to get some information on that?
Sure. What I'll do is I'll change our rows to show the area of study. Maybe that will help. I see this other batch and other area of study here.
Yeah, it looks like health education behavioral sciences is the largest, while the BSPH is the most popular degree. I wonder, can we pop it into our benchmarking dashboards?
Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on ASPPH up here in the top in the gray ribbon, which will bring us back to our reports and dashboards. And I'm going to click on graduate data for benchmarking. From here, I can create my regional undergrad peer groups. That's what I'm going to call them. So using the select peer dropdowns, I'll select those 5 institutions and then save them. So first we'll go with East Tennessee. And excuse me, I'm working with this mouse here. IU Bloomington, Pewee, Kentucky, and Ohio State. There you are. And I can use this button here at the bottom of the screen. It says Original View to save this peer group. I'm going to save this as the UG Regional Peer Group.
So what does that mean exactly, that you've done this?
This means that the next time I log in, this peer group will be saved and I won't have to go through each drop down again. But really what it means is that I won't have to commit this group to memory. All right, save. Now we've got it in here. And you probably noticed that as I was making these selections, the bar chart on the right populated. It's showing the count of graduates reported by each institution in academic year 2015-2016. And if you hover on each bar, you'll see a pop-up that shows more information. And now that my selections have been entered here, I'm going to take a look at the top of the screen to show you these tabs. We've got Select Peers, which we're on right now, Bar Chart, Trend Line, Data Definitions for our domestic members, Data Definitions for our international members, and this historical document that shows changes to the data definitions over the years. Each report and dashboard in the portal will have data definitions in it, so you don't always have to refer to the support tab and navigate away from your analysis.
I'd like to mention here that in the coming weeks and months, the dashboards and reports will feature a new tab that's coming called Data Limitations. While we have many systems in place to ensure data validity and consistency, there will always be certain limitations that you should be aware. For instance, in our SOPHIS data, most, but not all, ASPPH members participate, and they don't always include all their degrees. That's just one example of a limitation that we're going to try to bring into these data limitations tabs. You'll want to keep that in mind when we head over to the SOPHIS data in a few minutes.
Right. So why don't we go over to the bar chart to take a look at Louisville and their UG regional peer group. I'm going to click on bar chart. Now, the first thing I want to do is get rid of all these gray bars so that I can really focus on Louisville and the peers that we've selected. I can do that by clicking on the peer group filter to the right of the chart and unselecting Other. Next, we'll focus on the numbers. What we're looking at here are two side-by-side charts. The bar chart on the left is being expressed as the total count of graduates for each institution, and the right side bar chart is being expressed as the percentage of those graduates who received an MPH. You can reference these drop-downs up here. We want to look at the total number of graduates by percentage of bachelor's degrees, because that's what we really care about right now. We'll do that by changing the expressed as right side drop-down to percent bachelor's. Now, when I sort this from high to low on the right side, we get a ranking of percentage of bachelor's degrees for the entire graduating class for these peers. So what I'll do is I'll change my sort order from high to low for the second bar chart. Let's hover here to get more information. So what you're seeing is that IU Bloomington had over 1,000 grads last year, and 84% of those grads were undergraduates. Now, if we go down to Kentucky, looking at the other end of that spectrum, we can see that Kentucky had 109 graduates and 14% of them were grads.
That's really curious to look at it for 1 year, but I would really like to see this data over time.
Sure, and we can do that. The data center started collecting undergraduate data back in 2013, so I'm going to start with that year by changing this reporting year dropdown to 2013. It looks like East Tennessee is the only member in this peer group that reported undergraduate degree conferrals in 2013. But what about 2014? Some growth. 2 more members reported undergraduate grads in 2014. Let's take a look at 2015. Even more growth. And then finally, we've got 2016, where we can see that each peer is reporting a percentage of undergraduate graduates. And I would say that this is indicative of a growing demand for undergraduate public health in this region.
Yeah, we've looked at a lot of different data that's shown this growth. I mean, an example too of the limitation here is, when a member becomes a member, that's when they start reporting data. So it's just something we always want to, have everybody remember when you're using the data that such things can happen with the data over time. But this was really interesting, Emily. But is there a way that we can look at a trend line?
Bet. I'll click on trend lines up here. And you can see that all of our filters are already set for us. So what we're looking at here is a stacked trend line. On top, you're seeing the total count of graduates from 2010 to 2016. And on the bottom, it's showing the growth in the percentage of total graduates that are undergraduate degree conferrals. So if we just wanted to look at Louisville, I'm going to filter out my peers, and we can see both the total growth and the growth in percentage of bachelor's degrees. Again, Louisville has had total growth as well as growth in the percentage of bachelor's degrees.
Yes, because we know that Louisville started an undergrad program, as you can see here, and when they started reporting their bachelor's degrees. And this quick market analysis is really helpful in showing how they could have used ASPPH data to come to this decision by looking at their peers. I think another good way to use the data in informing new degree development decisions is to use our SOPHIS data, matriculation data. Why don't we go over to the admissions data to see how Louisville and their peers are splitting the applicant pool.
So this should look a little different to you from the graduate data that we were just on, because we're now pulling from two different data sources. And for this analysis, I'll use SOFAs. And what I like about the SOFAs data is that it allows for some additional analysis that just isn't possible with the annual data. For instance, a matriculation comparison. I'm going to take us into the matriculation dashboards to show you what I mean. All right. What you're looking at here on the left-hand side, you can see two bar charts. And on the left-hand side are the count of applicants that were admitted at Louisville but matriculated elsewhere. And before I go any further, I'd like to say that Louisville does have an excellent yield, so I'm not airing any dirty laundry here. And on the right-hand side, you're seeing the count of applicants who declined other institutions to matriculate at Louisville. So my first step is to set the SOFA cycle dropdown to the most recent cycle, and then use all of these filters here to look at only this UG regional peer group that we've already created in the graduate section. The SOFA cycle dropdown is at the top under the title, and I will select cycle 10. And now I'll use the select matriculated institutions, and I will use Indiana Fairbanks, and it looks like we've got Ohio State and the University of Kentucky, and that should have changed our bar chart. And I'm going to do this again over here on the right-hand side. Now you're going to notice that the drop-downs are not quite the same. And that's because the drop-down is only going to show the applicable institutions. So over here, what I'm selecting is going to be East Tennessee, Indiana Bloomington, and University of Kentucky again. And what I'm seeing is, and what I'm making of this, is that 6 applicants matriculated at Louisville's regional peer institutions, but 6 other applicants declined these regional peers to attend Louisville. So in other words, Louisville has a healthy share of this regional market and would likely have a healthy share of the undergrad market considering its growth in this region.
Great. I definitely want to thank our colleagues at CUNY and Louisville for being the subjects of our case studies today. And from here, it seems like there's just so much more that can be done with the ASPPH data resources to drive decision-making at our member institutions.
Right, and I think with this specific instance of trying to build a UG program, it would be really interesting to look at the faculty counts and how they have changed for institutions starting undergraduate degree programs.
Exactly, and that would be found definitely under the faculty section of the data center portal. And even over time, it would be good to see if we could make some assumptions about hiring to accommodate undergrad programs or new degree programs.
Right, which would lead us to salary data. You know, what does compensation look like in this growing market?
Exactly, and that begs the question, what do tuition and fees look like? So that would be found in the financial section.
Just so many questions. We're really bringing up more questions than we're answering at this point.
Yes, exactly. And I hope that for all our attendees today that we got your creative data juices flowing. We know that there is a wealth of data here now behind all of these boxes on the data center portal, and we like to encourage you to think about what are the decisions that your school or program is currently making, and then look at the data resources for how this data could be used to inform or drive some of that decision making. And with that, I will turn it over to Emily to launch our Q&A.
Great. Thank you, Christine. So the way you're going to submit your questions is to type your questions into that questions section on the webinar control panel. I will pause to give you all a moment to type in your burning questions. I see several here. And a user has asked, you mentioned earlier that I can export to Excel now. How do I do that? And I think that's a great question. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to log back into the admissions data to quickly show you how that's done. And again, as we mentioned earlier, it's only those reports where you're able to export to Excel. So I'm going to go ahead into my admissions trends and then show you the steps. The first thing you have to do is click anywhere in your table, and then you scroll down to the bottom of the screen, and where it says download, you'll click and then select crosstab. Now, I realize you probably won't remember that, but there is this icon here that you can hover over, and it gives you the 3-step instructions to export to Excel. And let me go ahead over to our question box. All right. I have a question here asking, do the bar charts show the numbers? Yes, they do. You'll notice that in the dashboard, there is a label switch. I'll just take you over and demonstrate that for you. So if we're looking at a bar chart, you can use this label on/off switch to show the numbers. And our next question is, can you look at this by just graduate students? And yes, you can. The same way that we looked at this just by bachelor's, you can do the same with master's level and doctoral level. You will use the degree level filter on each dashboard and report.
I think a note of caution here, Emily, is always a good chance just to remind people that it's always good to clear your filters at some point. We want to make sure you are looking at the data, getting the results to the questions that you asked. So there's a lot of filters, and it's easy to keep them in a filtered state and not be aware of what they are. But yes, here at the bottom, we always have what the filter settings are on the bottom of the dashboard. So just a note of caution in using the data, that you definitely want to make sure to check your filters once or twice before you bring the data forward for decision making.
Great. Yep. Thank you. And I have another question here. And it says, can this be sorted by online or on-campus programming? And this year, it cannot. However, following the 2017 annual data collection cycle, you will be able to use that because we've started collecting that data from our members. So we are really looking forward to that because we continue to get that question.
Exactly, and part of the reason we did that is, of course, in response to our members, but also in response to the CEPH reporting and aligning with their new reporting. So we've added that in for the 2017 data collection cycle.
Great. And I'm getting some very specific questions about exporting, and I'm happy to help all of our users troubleshoot these issues that they're having. Just give us a call or send us an email to data@asppph.org, and we will walk you through the export process. We realize that there's with this increased functionality, there also may be some snags that you hit. So please don't hesitate to contact the data center. All right. And with that, I think I just encourage you all to contact us with the questions that you have. We're here to help guide you through the system. We've launched on this new platform, and there are some changes, so do not hesitate to contact us. Our contact information is at the bottom of every single screen. And I'm going to toss it back over to Christine to close this out.
Great. I just want to comment on that. There are a number of ways we can meet with you, and especially even virtually now with these GoToWebinar tools. So if there's ever a need that you want to look at some data together to answer some of the questions, or you have some functionality questions, we can easily hop onto a GoToMeeting and do that with you and your colleagues, or if possible, we can even meet with you in person. That is also an option. We really want to help you become data rock stars if you're not one already. That is our ultimate goal, is to make you look good. So thank you very much for attending today, and we look forward to hearing from you.